Runaway Train, Streets of Fire, To Live and Die in L.A. These 8 hard-boiled action movies from the 80s deserved box office glory, but instead, they found their true calling in the cult classic Hall of Fame. While Stallone and Schwarzenegger dominated multiplexes with Rocky and the Terminator sequels, these forgotten neo-noir gems were quietly redefining what action cinema could be: grittier, weirder, and more uncompromising than anything Hollywood dares to greenlight today. The 1980s were the golden age of the action movie, the decade that turned muscle-bound heroes into box office gods and gave birth to the everyman action star. But beneath the surface of mainstream success, a parallel universe of ambitious misfits was brewing. Films that pushed boundaries, broke rules, and paid the price at the ticket booth. These are the movies that found their audience on VHS shelves and late-night cable runs during the home video revolution, becoming the stuff of legend for those brave enough to seek them out. Let's start with perhaps the most criminally overlooked masterpiece of the decade, Runaway Train from 1985. This is not your typical action romp. It is Akira Kurosawa meets Maximum Security Prison, directed by Russian filmmaker Andrei Konchalovsky for the unlikely Cannon Films. Producers Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, the maverick Israeli cousins behind Cannon's B-movie empire, greenlit this ambitious project based on a Kurosawa script from the 1960s and inspired by a real 1963 Life magazine article about a runaway train incident, creating existential action filmmaking at its finest. Jon Voight delivers a career-defining performance as an escaped convict trapped on a runaway locomotive, earning him an Oscar nomination alongside Eric Roberts. Legendary film critic Roger Ebert awarded it 4 stars and called it a masterpiece, and critic Michael Phillips declared it the most underrated movie of the 1980s. Yet it made only $8 million worldwide, despite massive critical acclaim. The film's influence runs deeper than its box office suggests. It directly inspired Speed in 1994, after screenwriter Graham Yost's father mistakenly told him about a movie where a runaway train was caused by a bomb on board. Then there is Walter Hill's Streets of Fire from 1984, perhaps the most audaciously styled action film ever conceived. Hill set out to make what he called a rock and roll fable, a comic book movie without an actual comic book source. The result is a neon-soaked fever dream, starring Michael Pear as a leather-jacketed hero who rescues rock star Diane Lane from motorcycle gang leader Willem Dafoe, in a timeless alternate reality that feels like the 1950s collided with 1984. The film bombed spectacularly, making only $8 million against its $14.5 million budget. Critics did not know what to make of its genre-blending approach, but time has been kinder to Hill's vision. The soundtrack, featuring music producer Jim Steinman's epic "Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young" and the hit "I Can Dream About You," peaked at number 6 on Billboard, and the film's influence can be seen everywhere from music videos to modern neo-noir. Streets of Fire has become the textbook definition of a cult movie, a box office disappointment that refused to die and instead rose from the ashes to become legend. William Friedkin's To Live and Die in L.A. from 1985 represents the director's return to form after a string of disappointments following The Exorcist and The French Connection. This sun-baked neo-noir follows William Peterson as a reckless Secret Service agent, pursuing master counterfeiter Willem Dafoe, who would return from the previous year's Streets of Fire through the criminal underworld of Los Angeles. Friedkin crafted what Rotten Tomatoes calls perhaps the ultimate 80s action thriller, complete with coke fiends, car chases, and a Wang Chung soundtrack that defined the decade. The film's legendary car chase sequence, where Friedkin reversed freeway traffic flow to create maximum chaos, consistently ranks alongside Bullitt and The French Connection as one of cinema's greatest. Made for $6 million and earning $17 million domestically, it was a modest success that has grown in stature over the decades. Wang Chung's title track hit number 41 on Billboard. The film's real legacy lies in its unflinching portrayal of moral ambiguity. This is action cinema for adults who understand that heroes and villains are not always clearly defined. Blue Thunder from 1983 gave us Roy Scheider as a police helicopter pilot testing a militarized chopper designed for urban surveillance. Director John Badham crafted a prescient thriller about technology and police-state overreach that feels eerily relevant today. The film opened at number 1, earning over $42 million domestically on a $30 million budget, making it one of the more commercially successful films on this list. What makes Blue Thunder fascinating is how it predicted our current surveillance state paranoia decades early. The titular helicopter, a modified French Gazelle that cost Columbia Pictures $190,000, became a character unto itself. Malcolm McDowell's villainous turn is particularly memorable, made more impressive by his real-life terror of flying. He would literally vomit after helicopter scenes. The film earned an Oscar nomination for editing and has maintained its reputation as a smart, politically charged action thriller. Sylvester Stallone's Cobra from 1986 remains one of the most controversial action films of the decade. Originally conceived when Stallone rewrote the Beverly Hills Cop script into a violent action extravaganza that horrified Paramount executives, Cobra became Stallone's unfiltered vision of urban vigilante justice, channeling the same Dirty Harry energy that defined the era's anti-hero cop films. The film opened at number 1 with a $15.7 million Memorial Day weekend, eventually earning $160 million worldwide on a $25 million budget. But Cobra's real story lies in what we never saw. The original cut ran over 2 hours, featuring extensive plot development and character work that Warner Brothers demanded be removed when Top Gun became a sensation the week before Cobra's release. The studio wanted more showtimes per day, so Stallone reluctantly carved out nearly 50 minutes, creating the lean, almost wordless action showcase we know today. The film initially received an X rating, before further cuts brought it to an R rating. Stallone has since expressed regret, calling the final film half-baked and saying he wished he had directed it himself. Walter Hill returned to our list with Red Heat in 1988, the ultimate buddy cop movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Soviet policeman partnered with Chicago detective Jim Belushi. This East meets West action comedy earned the historic distinction of being the first American film granted permission to shoot in Moscow's Red Square. Schwarzenegger spent 3 months learning Russian and received $8 million for his performance, his biggest payday to that point. The film earned $35 million domestically, respectable but not spectacular compared to Schwarzenegger's other 1988 release, Twins. What makes Red Heat special is Hill's commitment to the culture clash concept and Schwarzenegger's surprisingly nuanced performance as a fish-out-of-water communist. The actor later called it preparation for his future political career, noting how the role taught him about playing characters bound by ideology, yet capable of growth. Roadhouse from 1989, starring Patrick Swayze, deserves recognition as the ultimate guilty pleasure action film. Swayze plays a philosophy degree-holding bouncer hired to clean up the roughest bar in Missouri, facing off against corrupt businessman Ben Gazzara in increasingly absurd confrontations. The film earned $61 million worldwide on a $15 million budget. But its true success came later during the video store era. Roadhouse has grossed over $200 million through home video sales, DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming, proving its enduring appeal to audiences who appreciate its commitment to sincere ridiculousness. The famous monster truck scene cost $500,000 to film and broke Swayze's ribs during production. Despite Golden Raspberry nominations across 5 categories, Roadhouse has become a beloved cultural touchstone, inspiring a 2024 remake starring Jake Gyllenhaal that proved the property's continuing relevance. Finally, there is Action Jackson from 1988, Carl Weathers' long-overdue starring vehicle that arrived 12 years after Rocky and his memorable role in Predator. This Joel Silver production is Weathers' love letter to the blaxploitation films that launched his career, filtered through the high-concept action machine that gave us Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. As Detroit cop Jericho Jackson, nicknamed Action, Weathers brings charisma and physical presence that should have launched a franchise. These 8 films represent the road not taken in 1980s action cinema, the grittier, more experimental path that prioritized character and atmosphere over focus group-tested formulas. They're the movies that dared to be different in an era of increasing corporate conservatism. And while they may have lost the box office battle, they won the war for our lasting affection. In today's franchise-dominated landscape, these forgotten gems remind us of a time when action movies could be personal statements, artistic expressions, and pure entertainment all at once.